Gentlemen, I'm your host for today's event, Insanely 13, to be with you guys because we're looking at the third round of XRRL here at Sochi in Russia. We're still relatively early into the circuits. We're focused, this circuit being more of a street circuit, is much more focused when it comes to anybody who has a good setup and a good chassis that can put the power down smoothly will have a significant advantage here today at Sochi. Before far into qualifying itself, I do want to go ahead and look at standings. Apparently have not been updated. Actually, standings were updated, but it looks had to have been adjusted. There were some penalties that were assessed post-race last week at Bahrain, so we're sadly apparently not able to get updated. We are about to with the race. We have 17 people right now. We are anticipating before time is up. Now the question is, who's the first person going to be? This will be a little bit better than what we had last week. Last week we were in a position where only 15 people were able to show up to the race, so Q1 basically meant nothing. Here we actually have 17 people, so, and again, potentially an 18th will join as well, so qualifying will actually have some importance right off the bat. But the question right now is who's going to be the first person to get out onto the circuit and try to set the time that everyone else is going to chase here. Sochi is built around the Sochi Park that the Olympics was hosted at a few years back, and Sochi has also gradually become one of the main tourist destinations in Russia over the last decade. Part of the appeal has been the Formula One race circuit, but there are also many other attractive events that go on around here, fairs go on around here, concerts, etc., etc. Russia really trying to bring itself into the modern day when it comes to international appeal, at least by Europe and Asian standards. As we now see the first driver to get onto the circuit is going to be XRL Raptor. Raptor was hoping that he would end up leaving last week at Bahrain with the points lead, however, because he was able to sneak a second place finish. However, time penalties were assessed afterwards. 5 seconds were removed from XR Low, who finished third, while Raptor served his 5 seconds in the pit lane, so he could not get 5 seconds removed. What that meant in the process is that Low ended up back ahead of Raptor by race's end, and Raptor did not leave Bahrain with the points lead in the end. However, it's been an amazing turnaround season for him this year compared to last year. A potential championship threat he is. No one else, interesting enough, has made the move to come out onto the circuit. Now, I will say right now, the Formula One sprint race at Brazil, at Interlagos, is currently going on. It is anticipated to end in the next few minutes, though, and we'll likely see more drivers get onto the circuit at that point. Raptor, however, wants to get ahead of all that, go ahead, set lap time nice and early in this session so he doesn't have to worry about having invalid laps later on due to other drivers sharing the track with him. Now, this part of the circuit here is Sector 3, one of the most difficult parts in the entire Formula 1 calendar. Is just 90-degree corner after 90-degree corner. Almost all of them have what you would call inverse banking through them, so grip is extremely, extremely difficult throughout the majority of them. Of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, of the 8 corners that make up Sector 3, 7 of them are 90-degree corners, and the start-finish line is coming right out of the last of the 90-degree corners, to make it very, very difficult to deal with. Now, as we see onto the circuit, there is a Ferrari coming out onto the circuit. That would likely be the Ferrari of XRL Low, I believe. Yes, that is indeed XRLO's Ferrari, and what we will do is that once we get a little bit farther in, we will go ahead and spin a lap on board with Low to get an idea of what a lap is like here at Sochi, but right now, we're following the Mercedes of XRL Raptor. One other driver I would encourage people to look out for today would be XRL Zola. Obviously, he's showing himself to be a potential outside championship threat, but I'm going to go ahead and say watch XRL Flavor. In the exhibition race that was run here at Sochi a few months back, XRL Flavor, due to penalty countback and just staying clean, ended up pulling off a second place finish. Flavor looking to have a breakthrough result now in the points paying races. He has failed to finish the past two, sadly, normally due to accidents. Now, Montreal, that was kind of expected. He's not usually very good at Montreal, but he's had good records at Bahrain, and the instance that took him out there, definitely a disappointment, especially considering how small the field was. If he could have just made it on track and been running to the end, he would have at least earned 9th place points, but it was not to be, sadly for him. He'll be looking to get his first points of the season later on today here at Sochi. But what we're going to do is we're going to ride on board the Ferrari of XRLO for a full lap to see what a lap is like here at Russia. And with that, the lap has been invalidated, so we're going to have to wait a bit to see what he's actually going to be able to do in that Ferrari. This also means, though, that we will go ahead and turn our focus to a different driver when they get a lap underway here. That will likely be XRL Fiend. But that's one of the challenges of this being a hybrid street permanent circuit, is that it's very hard to keep the car clean around this circuit. We're going to run on board with a lap for Fiend now, see what he can do to try and match Raptor's time. And that is a full lap around Sochi with the Alpine powered by Renault engines of XRL Fiend. He sets a time of 1:33.401, but right now the fastest time is by the Mercedes of Raptor with a 1:32.789. He is on a cooldown lap now, though. Mr. Anderson and XRL 19, formerly known as XRL Leader, have also joined the 133 club. This is XRL Ollie's. He comes out of the final corner right now with a set lap time of 1:33.822. That's the slowest that we've seen thus far. Pelly, his teammate, is still in Sector 1, isn't quite yet in position to get flying here. Debaslan in the Ferrari. His teammate Lowe aborted his lap time, so now it's Debaslan for the moment who's going to showcase what the Ferrari power plant can actually do here at Sochi. There's only two real DRS straights here, only two straightaways here. Most of the corners here are 90-degree corners. Like we said earlier, a lot of the ones in the third sector have inverted banking, so it makes it very difficult to maintain grip around the circuit here. The Ferrari power plant is known to be down on power due to knock-on effects from penalties from the 2019 Ferrari engine. However, that may give Ferrari a slight advantage here as long as they're not jamming all the power at the initial acceleration of the car and it takes a little bit longer to spool up. It may give the Ferrari-powered cars of the Alfa Romeos, the Haas's, and the Ferraris, the Scuderia Ferraris, a little bit of advantage here when it comes to putting the power down. He was now set time 1:33.736. This is Edgar right now, who is in Sector 2. The AlphaTauri, him and his teammate Stone Shuffle are both in the middle of laps right now. There are only two in the middle of laps that have not already set their laps, as Constant Jet, the other Mercedes driver, has now begun to merge out onto the circuit at the moment. About halfway through this qualifying session. Ooh, and that was really off circuit there by Edgar, but he keeps it legal. So it's still clean, it's still legal, despite the fact they extended the circuit there. Now the AlphaTauri Honda coming down to the last two corners. Runs a little bit wide and then swerves back in. If he was a little bit straighter on exit, he may have been able to shave a little bit of time off, but as of now, he is 0.02 of a second off of Sebastian's time at the moment. And now we go ahead and turn the focus to Stone Shuffle, his teammate, in the 98 machine. Last four corners here. Left and then three rights. Corner up here, you apex at about 80 miles an hour, and then the final corner, you're gonna apex at about 69 to 70. He actually goes a little lower than that to have a straighter exit. He'll set a time of 133.727. That's better than his teammate thus far. As Beastie, Zola, Constant Jet, Torpedo, Flavor, and Low are all in the middle of outlaps right now. Constant Jet has now begun a lap. He is in the slipstream of the Alfa Romeo of XRL Pelly right now, as Pelly has just finished up his lap. Now Pelly will pull aside, but Constant Jet should be able to take advantage of that extra little bit of draft, and went away before he got to the braking zone, so it's not going to compromise his braking going into turn 2 too much. Now this section here, these three corners, are all the primary parts on the circuit where aerodynamic downforce actually matters more than traditional mechanical grip. Circuit very start and stoppy all throughout due to the excessive amounts of 90-degree corners here. A little bit of a runoff there. The fact that it's not quite 90 means that you can actually take that at closer to 105, 110 miles an hour. Very nearly cuts the inside of the course there, but he exits with a respectable amount of speed. This is the final DRS zone for Constant Jet, and he's on the run down the straight. At the end of Sector 2, it's a 106.095, and then he jumps onto the brakes shortly afterwards. Relatively flat through here. And then you enter the last four corners. So Constant Jet goes ahead and sets a time of 133.425. 19 drivers in the session, so we've had two more join since the start of Q1. The top 15 fastest will advance. As of now, only 11 people have set times. We're going to see a lot of that change shortly, though, because Zola is in the middle of a lap, as is Torpedo, as is Flavor, and level 6 Beastian. But Beastian has invalidated his lap. He is low on fuel, so this is going to be very difficult for Beastian trying to make this work. There's only 5 minutes left in the session, and with the light saying that he's low on fuel, he may not be able to go full bore for this lap. Raptor retires from the session. He feels very confident with his 132.789. He is the only driver to hit the 132s. Raptor took pole last week at Bahrain, only to spin out in the first corner and drop to the back. He was able to recover, fight for the win, and ended up finishing second, third afterwards when it came to penalty countback. But he's looking for that first victory in XRL. Zola has taken a 133.593. It's the 6th fastest time thus far. El Frisbee has joined the party, so we now have a full grid for today's race. But at the moment, the question is going to be, will everybody be able to set laps before the time is over in this session? This is Flavor as he's coming around the final corner. 134.258. Again, Flavor not known for his qualifying prowess. He normally does better in the race than he does in qualifying. His teammate BC will be a better showcase of what the Red Bull can do over single lap pace. Currently, he's being held up by another car ahead. That is the Aston Martin of Mr. Anderson, who is on an outlap, and Anderson's not in a position to pull over and let him by. Anderson, if he pulls over and lets the Red Bull by, then the Red Bull's going to end up compromising his own lap. So for Beastian, he's going to end up aborting his attempt So although he had the fuel to potentially go hard to the end, he's not going to be able to do it because his lap is getting compromised. This is Young Maneuver now. I said this is Young Maneuver now as he is beginning to merge out of pit lane. 14 drivers have set laps. Collie Boy on the rundown right now. To the start-finish line, he has entered Sector 3. XRL Jacob is also in Sector 3, and El Frisbee is out on circuit. I don't even know if Frisbee had enough time to properly get a setup put on his Haas machine, but he's going for it irregardless. So Jacob now beginning his lap. He'll try and be the 15th driver to set a time in the session. Beastian and Ryan Hurricane need to get out on circuit as soon as possible, and there is a incident. Someone has come almost to a dead stop there on the straight. That is Torpedo. He has invalidated his lap in the second sector. He has pulled over in the process to save fuel. He's going to go again. He does not feel confident with his time of 134.252. At the moment, he's in, but if all these drivers who are in the middle of laps set times in the 134s and 133s, Torpedo could find himself on the outside looking in. He is trying to think ahead as much as he can right now. Jacob in Sector 2 right now. Clambering over the curbs. The curbs in Sector 2 aren't really an issue. Sector 1 has a problem with Turn 1 just being really poor, especially on cold tires on standing start. Edgar now goes to a 133.138. That's the second fastest, but no one else has broken the 133 barrier except for Raptor. Watching Jacob right now. Sector 3. All 90-degree corners from here on out. Good news for Jacob is that he's able to set a lap time. The bad news, though, is that it's not a very competitive one. He is now squeezed out as Collie Boy goes ahead and sets a 133.163. Ollie in a very interesting position. He had the 12th fastest lap time, and he is retired with the 133.822. So he feels confident enough that as long as you're in the 133s, you will make it into Q2. Frisbee and Young Maneuver are looking to disprove that right now. They want to both see if they can make it in to the next round. Frisbee currently in Sector 3, Young Maneuver in Sector 2. The fuel light is flashing on the Haas machine. Beastian and Ryan Hurricane are on outlap, so the question is, will they be able to make it to start-finish line in time? Frisbee with a 133.657. Flavor is on the bubble. He is out there trying to go faster, but Pelly and Jacob are both on circuit right now. Beastian is able to start his lap, so he has enough time to start a lap. Young Maneuver is in the middle of his lap right now. Ryan Hurricane, he's racing the clock, but it looks like he will be able to set a lap time before the session is up. Beastian cannot afford to invalidate. Here comes Young Maneuver to the line. It's a 133.803, so Ollie is now on the bubble, and if either Beastian or Hurricane or Pelly or Jacob go fast enough, Ollie will be squeezed out despite retiring early in the session. The clock is ticking. Flavor is not going to make it to the line in time to set a lap. Beastian, purple Sector 1. Ryan Hurricane going through turns 3, 4, and 5 right now. The clock is over for the session. Young Maneuver, Javis Kahn, and El Frisbee are all being defensive right now, but Javis has invalidated his lap. Young Maneuver is in a position where he should be able to lock himself in. Jacob, Flavor, Pelly are not able to improve their time, so it's down to Beastian and Ryan Hurricane seeing if they can knock Young Maneuver or Ollie out of Q2. The fuel light is flashing for Beastian. He's not going to have fuel for another lap, but he doesn't need fuel for another lap. This is his only chance he's going to get. 4 more corners to go. A left-hand 90-degree corner, and then 3 more, all going to the right. Ryan Hurricane on the back straightaway right now. It's a 106.524 for him at the end of Sector 2. Coming in line for Beastian. He's not in. 134.011. Ollie is still in. Ryan Hurricane, will he knock Ollie out at the last moment? Young maneuver improves significantly to 133.157. He is no longer even close to being at risk of getting squeezed out. Hurricane is not able to make it, and Ollie made his mark perfectly. A time of 133 is all these drivers needed to advance to the next round, and the 5 drivers who will not go on to Q2 is XRL Pelly, the Red Bulls of XRL Flavor and XRL Beastian, the Haas of XRL Jacob, and Ryan Hurricane in the Williams. And for the Ferraris, a little bit of concern because both of them came a little bit closer to getting squeezed out than I think they wanted. But the session is over, and Ollie, with a brilliant strategy to get off circuit early and retire, ends up paying him dividends here in Q1 at Sochi. But Raptor is the fastest, the only person to set a time in the 132s. Everyone else is solidly in the 133s right now. So only one Williams, one Haas, and one Alfa Romeo make it into the next round. And I would be a little bit concerned for them because it's Williams, Haas, and Alfa. None of them were in the top 10 in times to begin with. So we may not see any Williams, Haas's, or Alfas in the next session. So now we begin qualifying session 2. The top 15 drivers go to try and make Q3, which is the top 10 fastest. But in this session, tire strategy is everything because the top 10 fastest drivers at the end of the session are locked on that set of tires to start the race itself with. So we may see people elect to try and start on medium tire compounds. Already, I'm seeing a Ferrari holding onto the circuit. That is XRL Low. Well, he's not pulling onto the circuit yet, but he is starting to get on track, ready to get underway for his lap. Low electing to go on the medium tire compounds for the moment. He is joined by XRL Raptor and XRL Edgar for the moment. No other movement on pit lane. Edgar in the AlphaTauri. I'm watching pit road right now, but I'm not seeing any. I take that back. That is a Haas, and that is El Frisbee, the only Haas in Q2. He is now merging onto the circuit, preparing to get underway here. Now, I've been able to talk with all 3 Haas drivers, all 3 drivers who have been in the Haas over the last 2 weeks. And without a doubt, it's been very clear that they've been able to make the Haas work, but it's been extremely, extremely difficult. And almost any time they're put into a perform or die scenario, the cars are not able to withstand and they die. It's going to be a struggle for anyone to get the Haas machines to get into points-paying positions this season, because we saw at Bahrain, neither of the Haas's were even able to make it to halfway. The handling issues they have were that significant. Raptor in the middle of the lap right now as Fiend has just come out onto the circuit. So again, Fiend and Raptor are both going to be saying lap times relatively early in the session. I'm interested to see if Raptor on the soft tires will be able to set their time in the 132s. There's a little bit more traffic ahead in the form of XRL Low, but Low is far enough up the circuit that he shouldn't have to worry about any dirty air hindering his car, especially through the aerodynamically focused sections. Raptor on the run down now to the end of Sector 2. And will be a time of 105.928 there. But Lowe's the one to watch because his Ferrari was not able to get into the top 10 in times in Q1. So he's going to want to put on a good time now with the medium tires. He'll be the first to cross the line and will be the first to do it with medium. So it will be relatively quickly that we'll get an idea of what the performance of the medium and soft tire compounds are. Lowe with a 133.958, and now here comes Raptor with a time of 133.113. So Raptor not able to break into the 132s as early this session. Here comes Edgar. He's also on the medium tires. It's a 133.664 for him. So immediately Lowe's time starts falling down the order. Here comes his teammate Javis Khan to begin a flying lap now. But Frisbee is going to be the next person to cross the line, assuming he doesn't invalidate anything here. So Frisbee now sets the time of 133.844. Fiend, Constant Jet, and Javis Khan all in the middle of laps right now. Zola is on an out lap, and Mr. Anderson has just begun his out lap as well, as we see him going to turn 2 right now. Following Javis Khan, his teammate Lowe was only able to set 133.958 on the medium tires. And at the rate that it's going, he'll likely have to come out again, either go faster on that set or put on a set of softs, because that time is likely not going to maintain going forward. It's looking likely that you will need to be in the lower half of the 133s in order to secure a spot in Q3. Javis Khan with a 133.665, this is a thousandth of a second off of Edgar's time. Constant Jet has invalidated his lap. So now the focus goes to Zola. Torpedo, Maneuver, Collie Boy, and Stone Shuffle are all still in pit lane. XRL-19 is still in the pit lane as well. Lowe, Edgar, and Raptor have all retired into the pits. Well, not retired, but gone back to the pits, but none of them have retired from the session yet. That is Constant Jet, who was pulled off circuit there. Was there damage on the front wing of that car? It looked like there wasn't a front wing when we saw Zola go by. No, there is no damage to that car, so I take that back. 2 corners left for Zola. Now 1 corner. Brings it all the way down to the 60s. Some of the slowest that we've seen going through that last corner, but he will set a time of 133.806. It's the second fastest on the mediums thus far. So now the focus goes to Mr. Anderson in the Aston Martin. .801 at the end of Sector 1. Now the rear wing opens up for the second DRS straight, the back straightaway here. Longest true straight on the circuit. And even then, there's curves on the circuit before and at the end of it, so not a whole lot of places on the track to properly overtake. One of the best ways to overtake here is just to be simply faster or be on a better pit strategy around here. There's been an incident in Sector 1. That's Collie Boy in the McLaren has pulled off circuit, but he's on an outlap, so I'm guessing he pulled over to let other drivers by. Raptor is now coming out on circuit on the medium tire compounds, so he seems to think that he can go faster than his time on the softs with the mediums. We see this happen every now and again by Shelby iX Spark and XRL X3, so it is a viable strategy, but it's not necessarily the best one. Mr. Anderson, 133.219. It's the second fastest time thus far, and he did that on the medium tires. So now the focus goes to Torpedo. When he crosses the line, he will be the, assuming he doesn't invalidate, he will be the 10th driver to set a lap time in the session. See the Williams pull aside to let the Renault-powered Alpine go by. Alpine is the only car on the field that has Renault power plants. Wow, really sideways, attacked the curb a little bit too aggressively and lost traction. He was able to get it with a little bit of a slide, but that will take a little bit of life off the rear tires, and it will definitely hurt his lap time here. I'm not sure if he'll even hit the 133s. No, it's only 134.238. He needs to be able to do that without making a mistake like that. 134.238 is the bubble time right now, but we anticipate that time will come down soon enough. Collie Boy is in the middle of his lap right now, as is XRL Ledger, now known as XRL 19 in the Williams. Hard on the brakes through turn 2, and then turns 3, 4, 5, all through here. Very much aerodynamically focused. You see how quickly the car is rocketed up to about 150 miles an hour, and then they stall out right afterwards, and they don't really get much faster than 180. It goes to show you how, with the way the modern-day Formula 1 car is built, despite them being extremely, extremely heavy, they pump about 1,000 horsepower, give or take about 75 throughout all of these engines, especially if you add the ERS to it. And when all that is combined, all the weight of the car doesn't really mean anything. But what does happen though is that they are so aerodynamically trimmed out, and there's so much aerodynamic drag on the cars that once they get past about 150 miles an hour, the speed, the acceleration almost completely dies. It's not quite terminal velocity, but they seem to hit terminal velocity extremely, extremely quickly. And if these drivers like to put more downforce on their cars, which is a common thing to see on street circuits, even if mechanical grip is normally more important, you want the aerodynamics to give you every bit that you can. Anybody who has a lot of aerodynamic downforce on their cars here will most definitely be running a little bit slower on the straights as well, and on the acceleration. 19 now crosses the line with a 133.428. Fuel lights already flashing on the car. Let's see what speed he gets to at the braking zone. 98, 199, and then he starts backing off in the Williams. Stone Shuffle is on an outlap. Constant Jet is in the middle of a lap, finishing up right now at the line. It's a 133.257. So medium tires seem to be the tire of choice. 5 of the 7 fastest times have been with medium tires thus far. On the bubble is Gabus Dawn with a 133.665, just a thousandth of a second behind Edgar. And then Ollie, Torpedo, and Collie Boy will all need to go faster. Young Maneuver is finally coming out onto the circuit. It's relatively clean track around him, except for this man here, Stone Shuffle. Shuffle's gonna blow by Young Maneuver relatively quickly, and Young Maneuver is gonna want to hope that AlphaTauri can get far enough away that it's not gonna harm Young Maneuver when Maneuver begins his lap. Just a little bit over 3 minutes left to go in the session. Collie Boy is still out on circuit right now, but it is believed he is on a cool-down lap as he gets really sideways through there. His prior lap of 134.282 was not very relevant or fast on the mediums, and he invalidated his following one. He's already coming in. He's going to have to try one more time, but it's not looking good for the second McLaren driver. His teammate Zola has the 7th fastest time and is actually elected to retire in pit lane at the moment. Raptor has done it. He has beaten the time they set on the soft tires with mediums with a 132.801. So Raptor can probably retire from the qualifying session now, and he'll start the race on mediums with a very, very competitive lap time. He cannot afford to spin out in turn 1 here like he did at Bahrain. Doing that here will likely involve death to you and death to a large portion of the field. Stone Shuffle is pulled far away from Young Maneuver. It's now El Frisbee who's in between them. As we watch the AlphaTauri come in the line, he's going to try and beat the time of 133.665. His teammate Edgar has improved in time to a 133.453. So it looks like both AlphaTauris will be fine to make it in. No! Stone Shuffle with the soft tire compounds gets a 133.090. Very good lap. So now it goes to Young Maneuver. All the focus goes to him. What can he do on the medium tires. Medium tires have generally been the fastest thus far. Although Fiend is electing to abort his medium lap and is trying to turn a lap on the softs. Javis John, Torpedo, and Collie Boy have all elected to throw soft tire compounds on their cars. Torpedo and Collie Boy are on outlaps. Javis John is already in the middle of the lap. Boston Jet retires in the pit lane. Through Sector 2, hard on the brakes for this 90-degree corner, but it's a little bit wider on exit than most of the other ones here, so he's able to exit with closer to 90 miles an hour, and they lays on the throttle, and we should see him a little bit over 200 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway. No, it looks like they've really heaped on the downforce, and the car really seems to stall out about 198. But now Young Maneuver is in Sector 2. There's less than 30 seconds left in the session. So realistically, if you're not already in the middle of a lap, you're not likely going to get another shot at it. Edgar is on the bubble with a 133.453. His extra 19 is in. John, Ollie, and Torpedo are out right now. Young Maneuver, what does he do? He's only able to set a 13 fastest time, but he is in a position that he can go again. Collie Boy is not going to advance. Torpedo in the middle of the lap, as is James John. In the Ferrari, John exits the corner, jumps up to a 133.250. He is in, so Edgar and 19 are now squeezed out. Young Maneuver and Torpedo are going to try and squeeze Zola and Lowe out. Lowe, one of your championship contenders, would not want to see that happen. He's really going to be hoping that these two have something go wrong. That's the corner there that Torpedo had a little bit of a skippy over earlier that compromised an earlier lap. No issue this time, but will it be fast enough? At the line. No, 134.021 is not fast enough. What about Young Maneuver? He is up by 8/10 at the end. 800ths at the end of Sector 1, but he realistically needs to be up by about 7/10 of a second. We know one McLaren is going to get squeezed out, will the other one. Young Maneuver is now up to nearly 3/10 faster. He still needs to go faster if he wants a chance to make it into Q1. Young Maneuver, interestingly enough, is doing all these laps on the mediums. He has not made a single attempt on the soft tire compound. One more corner for Young Maneuver. At the line, is he in? No! 133.827 is the best he can do. And Young Maneuver will not advance. Stone Shuffle is out there on circuit still, but he's on a cooldown lap. Although for whatever reason he avoided the pit lane entry, as the man known as XRO Raptor will be the fastest at the end of both Q1 and Q2, much like what we saw at Bahrain. These are the drivers who advance a gap of 62 hundredths between the first and 10th fastest cars. Raptor, Anderson, Constant Jet, Fiend, Lowe, and Zola all in on the mediums. So 6 drivers will be starting in the top 10 on mediums, 4 of them will be starting on the softs. Then 19 and Edgar, Young Maneuver, Torpedo, and Collie Boy will not be able to advance. For Young Maneuver and Collie Boy, you have to wonder if maybe if they threw on softs, they could have advanced. But alas, nothing can be done about it. One other thing I do want to point out, we have had no accidents in Q1 or Q2 thus far, which is an absolutely fantastic thing because since this game has come out, we've seen a lot of drivers having issues with lack of turn-in or curbs spinning them out, giving them problems leading to incidents. Russia is not known to be a very car or driver-friendly track, but looks like everyone's making it work out. Everyone is still here, and we've not had any DNFs thus far. Even if all of a sudden we start having DNFs in Q3, I would still feel very confident saying that we should be looking for a relatively clean race, assuming we can get through the first 2 corners without issue today in the race itself. Alright, so now the question is who's going to be the first driver to get onto the circuit. It's likely going to be either Lowe, Stone Shuffle, or Raptor, those three, well, those two, and then Stone Shuffle to a lesser extent, have been some of the first drivers to get out on circuit almost every time. I'm seeing movement in the Ferrari camp. That's Lowe. As we go on board with him, he will be the first driver to get out onto the racetrack. Frisbee is the second one out. Credit to Frisbee. His teammate was not able to make it out of Q1, but Frisbee has dragged it up to Q3, so he is guaranteed, at worst, a 10th place starting position. Now we see Zola is out on circuit, as is no, that's constant. Yeah, Raptor has not come out on circuit yet. We're not used to seeing him come out way earlier. Now Jabez John is come out onto the track, and a little bit behind him, it's the Alpine of XRL Fiend, who has merged onto the circuit. And behind him is Raptor. And then behind them is going to be XRL Ollie. So everyone except for Anderson and Stone Shuffle out on circuit within the first minute and a half. The driver everyone's going to be focusing on is going to be this man here, Lowe. Like in the last qualifying session, he will be the first driver to cross the start-finish line. Set time there. Now we're seeing Mr. Anderson coming out of his pit box and is beginning to make the walk down onto the racetrack. So Lowe actually may have his flying lap compromised a bit by Anderson if Anderson doesn't go fast right out of the gate. Right now the gap is pretty large between them, but it is a possibility. Raptor, who's been the fastest in Q1 and Q2, is trapped right now behind XRL Fines, not backing off, it seems, so that could end up compromising his own fastest lap. Lowe now begins his lap. We'll be right on board with him. Alright, and there's your time that everyone's going to be going for, 133.031. Frisbee will be the next driver across the line. It's a 132.910. So immediately we see Frisbee, of all people, get into the 132 range. Now Constant Jet in the Mercedes is in with a 132.188. Here comes Jabez John. He'll be the fifth driver across the line with a time, 132.997. All these drivers are pulling a lot of time out of their rear ends now. For Raptor, what's it going to be at the line? 132.304. So right now it's a Mercedes 1-2. Fiend has aborted his lap as coming back into the pits. Stone Shuffle has not yet made an attempt to come out of pit lane. Ollie sets a 133.678. And now here comes Mr. Anderson. He'll be the last driver to set a time for a while. Bit of a twitch there. Just two more corners left for the Aston Martin. The only Aston Martin to have made it this far. Only four Mercedes power plants of the 8 were able to advance to this point in the session. 133.152. By this point in the session, I mean Q3. So Fiend and Stone Shuffle are still in pit lane, and neither of them have yet made an attempt to get onto the circuit. Jet and Raptor are likely on cooldown laps, but Frisbee could go another lap if he so chooses. He has the third fastest time right now with a 1:32.910. Is he going to come in? He is going to come in. So this was a cooldown lap for him. Zola is staying out, though, for another round. So they must have filled that car nice and full of fuel. Most of the drivers are coming into the pit lane. James Khan is coming in. We're expecting to see Raptor come in shortly. Ollie is actually up on time by a bit, so he's probably going to stay out. Indeed, he will stay out because he is a little bit up on time. Not enough to go faster than Zola right now, but he is up. So he brings it down to a 1:33.485 at the moment. Zola is up by 27 thousandths at the end of Sector 1. That's not enough, though, for him to be faster than Anderson. Anderson is down on time, but he'll likely come into the pits here. And no, I'm wrong. He will also elect to stay out for another lap. And Anderson pulls out a bunch of time in the last two corners, jumps up to fourth fastest, 1:32.967. So 3 of the 4 fastest times have been set by Mercedes power plants, it seems. Stone Shuffle has now finally come out onto the racetrack. Zola down on time now by just 29 thousandths, and the fuel light is flashing. And he will abort. He knows that there's no point in going again. For Ollie, he still has a respectable amount of ERS, and the fuel light's not flashing, so he may try and go a little faster here. He's already improved once. Can he improve again? Ollie, Anderson, and Stone Shuffle are the only cars on track right now. Sorry, not Stone Shuffle, Mr. Anderson. We got Ollie, Anderson, and Stone Shuffle. And Anderson is believed to be on a cooldown lap. And Ollie is aborting. He was up on time, but he's elected to abort his lap. So now the focus goes to Stone Shuffle. And we're now seeing a Mercedes come back onto the racetrack. And I believe that would be the Mercedes of XRL Raptor. Yes, it is. Raptor is coming onto the circuit. And now we're seeing the Ferraris beginning to move in their pit box. The Haas is moving. Alfa Romeo is moving. There's going to be a flurry of activity exiting pit lane here. For Stone Shuffle, this could not come at a worse time. They're all going to be merging on track. It's going to be right in front of him while he's on a flying lap. Mr. Anderson comes into the pits now. Now we're seeing Zola in the McLaren camp beginning to make the run down pit lane now. Stone Shuffle will be ahead of him, and it looks like Shuffle's gotten a little bit lucky. No one's going to be ahead of him. Constant Jet has come onto the circuit. Lowe has come onto the circuit. Frisbee has come onto the circuit. And now here comes Zola onto the track with 3 minutes and 25 seconds left in the session. Right on board the AlphaTauri that's made it to Q3. His teammate was not able to make it in, but Stone Shuffle has. As of now, everyone here is guaranteed at least 10th for start. 33.665 at the end of Sector 1. We see the Haas of L. Frisbee pulls over to give Lowe a little bit more room. Now, Lowe and Ollie are merging on, not Lowe, James Khan and Ollie are merging onto the circuit. They want another shot at this. No movement from XRL Fiend. He needs to get on the circuit fast if he wants to get a chance to set a lap. He came out early in the session, then retired after invalidating his first lap and has not made an attempt to come back onto the track since. If he wants to set a lap, he needs to get out there soon. And there we are. Fiend is beginning to move now. Mr. Anderson is still in pit lane. He also needs to get on the circuit if he wants to try and go faster. Lowe now begins his lap, but we're watching Stone Shuffle. He'll be the 9th driver to set a lap time, assuming he doesn't invalidate in these last 2 corners. .1:32.932, that's the 4th fastest time thus far. And for Fiend, he has 2 minutes to get to the start-finish line. He should be okay. Every driver is out on circuit right now, trying to go faster if at all possible. Frisbee watches as Fiend pulls aside. Fiend's only on the warm-up. Frisbee is on the flyer. Frisbee trying to put bring home a good qualifying performance from the Haas. Everyone except Anderson and Fiend are in the middle of laps right now. And Frisbee has to abort. Frisbee aborts his lap time, so he's going to go slow here and charge his ERS back up. The thing is, that will compromise not necessarily Fiend's lap time, but Stone Shuffle. If he was still on the Flyers, he's going to compromise. He's going to be a backup farther up the circuit now. That's Raptor, who's about to cross the line. No, I'm sorry, that's not Raptor, that's Constant Jet. I'm wrong. And Constant Jet has aborted his lap time, so he feels confident that he may not have to worry about going faster. So while Raptor has been the fastest in the first 2 sessions, Constant Jet might walk out of here with the pole. Stone Shuffle low on fuel. It's not likely he's going to be able to go faster. He is running extremely slow right now. He went hard on that lap. He got up to 132.661. It's the 3rd fastest time thus far, but he's not going to be able to make it back to the start-finish line. He's going to want to pull off circuit and make sure that he's not in the way of other drivers here. As we look at the clock, time's up, over, plow. Ollie crosses with 133.485. What can Fiend do? Now we see the Ferrari start. Jabus crosses with a 132.633. And Raptor is aborting his attempt to come into the pit, so he will not get pole for today's race. Fiend low on fuel. Okay. So I'm sorry, it's Jabus John who's 3rd fastest. Low has yet to cross the line for his final lap. One of your championship contenders. Now the final corner, the great run, 132.643. It's just a 100th off of his teammate. Fiend will be the next driver to cross the line. He waited until the last moment pretty much to set a lap time in the session. What will it be for him? 132.7 flat. So now the focus goes to Zola. Can he get into the 132s himself? The answer is going to be a resounding no, but he does improve to a 133.006. He'll start 9th. Anderson aborts his lap. Frisbee has invalidated his lap. Stone Shuffle will be the last driver to set a time. And it's a cooldown lap, so that's it. The session has come to an end. And it's a Mercedes lockout at the front row with Constant Jet and Raptor. With Constant Jet being a sleeper until the very middle and ending parts of the final qualifying session to take home pole here at Sashi. And there is your final qualifying lineup there for the top 10. And we are anticipating that we'll get underway in about 6 minutes' time. Maybe even 5 minutes, actually. Just stand by right now until we get underway for the race itself. We should be going green in about 3 minutes here. Alright, preparing to get underway. We should be going in about a minute's time here at Sochi. And it's a Mercedes front row lockout with Ferrari third and fourth. Renault power plant's a little bit more mixed up. They were one of the two fastest power plants last season, but it's not worked out quite as well for them thus far in qualifying here. Here we are, final 30 seconds now. All right. And now as we begin to load onto the circuit, a full field. Yesterday we only had, not yesterday, last week we only had 15 drivers. Today it's going to be a full field, 20 cars, but only half of them will be eligible to earn points today. Who's it going to be? As the lights are at 4 lights, 5 lights. It's lights out and away we go, and there was a Alpine that jumped the car. That was Young Maneuver, has had a collision. Collie Boy has had an incident as well, and there's a big accident, and James John is hard into the wall back there. Collie Boy is out, James John has had an accident, a chaotic and messy start, but somehow James John got out without issue, and Lowe has gone from third to first. Constant Jet is there, fine with Frisbee for second position. They both have a run on the Ferrari on the run down to the corner. The Haas has gone himself into second. Lowe has gone from the second row to the lead here in the run down to turn 2 alone. Outstanding job after his teammate spun himself out in turn 1. And the Mercedes plummet to third and fourth. Raptor seems to be having trouble keeping up, as Frisbee putting incredible pressure on the Ferrari for the front spot right now. Rapido has a penalty for jumping the race start. braking zone. This brings Frisbee up. Frisbee comes up alongside. Neck and neck. Frisbee's going to have to back out of it, though, in Sector 3. There are no real overtaking opportunities here. But he does seem to be faster than the Ferrari at many different parts of the circuit here. Oh, into the rear end of the Ferrari, but they're able to continue. We're going to try real quickly and get Collie Boy into the party and hear what's happened to him that took him out of the race there. Big mistake by Lowe. Lets Frisbee pull back up once more. Frisbee to the inside, but this will leave him on the outside going into turn 5. Turn 6, I mean. Can't make it stick. He's faster, but not fast enough to get alongside. Farther back, Flavor elected to start on the hard tire compounds. He's already lost touch with the field ahead, but that may not be a bad thing because everyone here is positioning themselves to get a lot of time penalties if they get too racy right now. Jacob putting pressure on Ryan Hurricane. Young Maneuver is back there in 12th. He's not really changed any positions since the race start. Torpedo has served his penalty and has also put on a new front wing as well. Jacob not able to really do anything, but here's one driver who is trying to do something. Edgar here in the AlphaTauri, putting pressure on Anderson in the Aston Martin. Now Pelly and Beastian are in a fight for 15th and 16th position right now. One of them has to back out of it, and it looks like it will likely be Pelly. As Beastian maintains more speed, exiting the corner for the lead. Frisbee, Lowe, neck and neck. On the inside is the Haas. Gonzalez right there, ready to capitalize. Lowe barely holds the position over Frisbee, but Frisbee has soft tires. He's faster than the Ferrari. He looks to the outside. They'll be neck and neck with DRS assist. He's not able to make the overtake stick, but he's alongside the Ferrari. They make contact. Frisbee gets pushed a little bit off the circuit, but Frisbee is still working hard on the Ferrari. 19 gets by Ollie. Fiend is now moved up by Stone Shuffle. Frisbee positioning himself for a dive bomb, thinks better of it, but Lowe blows the corner anyway. Lowe may have jumped into the lead with a great start, but the two drivers right behind him are very plainly faster than him around the circuit right now. Constant and Frisbee both had to back out as Lowe is extremely slow in some of the corners that these two want to take more speed through. Frisbee uses DRS to close in on Lowe once more. Constant Jet has more speed than both of them. He might make a move for second. If he does, that would make Lowe very happy. It would give him a chance to open up a lead here. Oh, but Constant Jet blows the corner. He'll lose a bunch of time now to his teammate Raptor. Raptor thinks about making a move on his teammate, but thinks better of it. But Frisbee may make a move on this part of the track on the prior lap. Is he going to try to do the same again this lap? But he will have DRS on the Ferrari once more. Ollie coming into the pits now to repair damage. Edgar back there in 6 has just set the fastest time. Frisbee to the outside, into the braking zone. He gets the nose ahead of the Ferrari. He'll make the overtake, but he has to cut the track in the process. He'll likely, yes, he gets a time penalty. No, that's Edgar who got the time penalty. That's not Frisbee who got the time penalty. But Lowe is fighting back. Oh, and Edgar with a huge dive on Raptor. And Raptor, who was one of the fastest in qualifying, is now finding himself plummeting through the order. He has fallen to 7th now after starting 2nd. He's going to try and fight back here, but there's not a whole lot of places to get side by side on this circuit in a safe manner that would also give you any benefit here, as Frisbee is now opening up the gap on the Ferrari of Lowe. Constant Jet is hanging steady. 19 now gets by Raptor. Raptor seems to be on a slow path to the back of the grid, despite having an incredible qualifying performance. opening up Raptor and Anderson. It seems like Raptor might be decent in parts of the track, but is not able to get a full lap put together, and it's leaving him vulnerable to other drivers who are just setting normal laps around here. Frisbee has now set the fastest time out front with a 1:38.130. The one thing that Frisbee needs to do is he needs to run as fast as he can, because those soft tires will start falling off sooner rather than later. Now Constant Jet's going to get overtaken by Feed and Edgar going down the main straightaway. Edgar has a run on Feed, but he has to back out of it going into turn 2. Edgar and Feed neck and neck for third, fourth position. Edgar now positioning himself up into third. Constant Jet, who started on the pole, is falling through the grid. The Mercedes may have only had good qualifying trim, and the moment they get dirty air on the front wing of the car, it seems like they start plummeting backwards through the field. One of the Mercedes have fallen to 9th, the other one has fallen to 5th after starting on the front row. Frisbee has opened a more than 1 second gap on low. That means that Edgar and Feed will now be putting pressure on low for the second position, and Frisbee might be in a position to make those very difficult to work Haas work his way into a potential win. Of course, there is still, 90% of the race left to go, but that is a strong possibility at the rate, and Frisbee is walking off right now. Low, Edgar with the fight, and Edgar stops by Low. He's going to get by him. Edgar seems to be faster than the Ferrari. Feed is now trying to close in. Now the question is, can Edgar close on Frisbee? Is Edgar fast enough to try out, get up there and take the victory? Edgar did a good job in qualifying, getting to Q3, but was not in a position to, well, no, he didn't get Q3, I'm sorry. He missed out on Q3. However, he might be in a position to try and get the race lead. Fastest lap of the day, 1:37.078, and those times will only drop, but that goes to show that Edgar is in a zip code all of his own right now, closing rapidly on the Haas. So Frisbee was able to overtake Low and the Mercedes and Jet and Raptor. However, now he has to deal with somebody who's way faster, and that would be XRL Edgar. Edgar has already closed the gap down to 0.4 of a second. 19, meanwhile, is having a fight with Stone Shuffle. Stone Shuffle is going to be on the inside. 19 is on the outside. Stone Shuffle is going to be faster in a straight line. The advantage goes to 19 as Anderson closes in, looking to capitalize. Oh, and a hard impact! And Stone Shuffle into the wall hard. And there is your full course safety car as Stone Shuffle taken out of the race after making a little bit of contact with 19 into the inside wall, and he is out of it. And for the drivers on soft tire compounds, this would be a good opportune time to get off them and throw on a set of mediums, as we're going to try and get Stone Shuffle into here. One AlphaTauri fighting for the win, the other knocked out of the race before they even get to lap 10. Alright, as we see our leaders coming into the pits now, coming into the party is Stone Shuffle. Give me just a second to make sure things are working here. Alright, Stone Shuffle, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you. Alright, Stone Shuffle, you were running relatively competitive midfield until you had that accident. It looked like you made contact with 19 or Mr. Anderson. What happened that took you out there?
I got slammed from behind, punted me into the wall. It was a really good battle up until that point, but coming out of that turn, I was clearly on the racing line and I took a big shunt in the rear of the car which slammed me into the wall. It was just a really clumsy bit of driving from my competitor, I'm afraid. There's no other way to put it.
Alright, it's an absolute travesty to see you out this early, but you're doing an outstanding job finding what you can. So now I just have to ask, your teammate Edgar is now leading the race. He has made a charge all the way from outside of the top 10 to the lead. Do you think he has a chance to walk off with this victory?
Yeah, he's got good pace. I mean, the car is actually, the AlphaTauri, and its realistic pace form is actually quite a good car, even though it's not particularly fast on the straights. But what I was finding is even early in the race, my fronts were dead. So I'm not sure if it's quite hefty on tyre wear, so that might be one to watch out with him later on in the stint.
Alright, and now one last question to ask. Do you think you can recover from this in next week's race?
I don't often get the chance to do a Saturday race, so whenever I can, I reserve in XRRL. So I probably won't be back for a few weeks, but that's what kind of makes it even more disappointing that I've been caught up in an incident and gone out of the race so early.
Alright, well, it's Travis says see you out, Stone Shuffle, but we'll be looking forward to your exploits next week as the normal X1, X2, X3 events come back to broadcasting.
Yeah, great. Cool. Thanks very much.
Well, while we were talking with Stone Shuffle there, Mr. Anderson, the driver who got into Stone Shuffle, has just gotten to another competitor under the safety car as Anderson has run into Constant Jet from behind, as left the Aston Martin with significant front wing damage. We'll likely see him have to retire into the pit lane here to get that repaired. The good news, though, is that this should put Anderson on slightly fresher tires than almost everyone else ahead of him. The bad news, though, is this will relegate him out of points-paying positions. For Constant Jet, frustration because he now has a time penalty against him. 8 seconds worth that he's not going to be happy with. Also, for James Cohen, a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car will relegate him. He's already out of the points-paying position. That will relegate him even farther back. One of the drivers who really benefited from this, though, other than Edgar, obviously, who took home the lead, is going to be Constant Jet, because now this has brought him back up into the 4th spot, and everyone's going to be on top of each other. The driver right behind him, XRL19, has soft tires that already have significant amounts of wear on them, as does Yamanura and Ryan Hurricane, who's behind Raptor. So for the Mercedes, this will be a good chance for him to rebound a bit and keep pace with the front 3. Fiend is up there in 3rd, Lowe is 2nd, and Edgar is leading, but Edgar has a time penalty, while Lowe and Fiend do not. Mr. Anderson rushing to catch up to the back of the grid right now. Once he does, I anticipate we'll get the word that we'll be going green this lap. Coming on to the next lap, coming on to lap 9. XRL Flavor and Level 6 Beastian in the Red Bulls are in 12th and 13th. Interesting enough, Beastian elected not to pit under the safety car, so he is still under the same set of soft tires he started with. Flavor is now gone from outside of the top 15 up to 12th on the hard tires, and he can go a lot longer on these tires. That he's not going to be in a position to close in on the drivers ahead by any means, but he is in a position to start picking up more spots, and the drivers on soft tire compounds eventually have to come into the pits. And it looks like Beastian does not have a helmet on. Yeah, indeed, Level 6 Beastian does not have a helmet equipped. He has a baklava over his head to, like, soak up the sweat and stuff, but he does not have a helmet on that car, and I'd be interested to see if that ends up being a penalty later. But now we turn our focus to the race lead. Frisbee pitted and put on mediums, and he is now back there in 11th, so this puts Edgar in the lead with Lowe 2nd and Fiend 3rd. What will these 3 drivers do in their fight for the lead position coming to the green flag on lap 9? Edgar already opening up a gap on Lowe. Lowe was caught glacking just a bit. Oh, but Edgar gets really sideways in the second to last corner. Gets sideways in the final corner as well. Constant Jet gets a time penalty coming to the green flag, but it looks like Edgar timed it well enough that the entire front bit of the field has relatively large gaps between them. You basically have to go back to 15th or 16th before you see any serious gaps. What in the world was the Williams of 19 doing? Where slid all the way across the circuit like he had no idea what was going on. Fiend closing in on the Ferrari of Lowe right now. Frisbee already up to 10th. I missed it completely, but Frisbee is powered by XRL Pelly back there. So Frisbee already making moves on the circuit. It's about a second of clean air until he gets to the next car up the road. Constant Jet is here in 4th. He has not yet lost touch with the drivers ahead, but Edgar is running away from Lowe. It looks like it's going to be Lowe, Fiend, and Constant for 2nd, and Edgar is going to try and immediately start outrunning his time penalty. Torpedo and oh, Jesus Christ! Ollie with a massive jump over the curve. Ollie has lost his entire front wing somewhere and very nearly took Torpedo out of the race with him. But both these drivers will be able to continue, and Ollie will have a chance to at least put on fresh rubber and a new front wing But it's gone from bad to worse for Ollie here. BCN has fallen to 15th now, with Anderson putting pressure on him. Anderson has fresh mediums, BCN has worn softs, so this battle can only go in Anderson's favor, assuming Anderson is not too aggressive on the moves. Jacob, right there behind Flavor as he is gotten by Don. Don is elected to pit now. So Jacob's now putting pressure on XRL Flavor right now. Pito moves up to 16th by virtue of that. Anderson around the inside of BCN. That position will solidly go to him. And Constant Jet has just lost positions to 19 and his teammate Raptor. And it looks like he's going to lose to Young Maneuver. And the braking zone, no, Maneuver thinks better of it. So it looks like the bleeding has stopped for a moment, but Constant Jet falls from 4th to 6th now. So that puts his teammate Raptor up into 5th. 19 is now 4th, and the gap is now opened up enough that's going to be just Fiend versus Low for the 2nd position, as Edgar is walking off with this race right now. Ooh, Alpine, big twitch. Now he falls more than a second out from Low, and that will bring 19 up into the fray. Frisbee, gained by Zola back there. Oh, no he's not, he's under the wall. And Zola involved as well. It looked like the two of them tried going side by side, coming onto the back straightaway. Frisbee clambered over Zola's front wing, ripped the entire front wing off of Zola's machine, and now Zola is going to have to pit to repair damage. And for Frisbee, Frisbee has been disqualified. And one of the fastest drivers all day, El Frisbee, has just been disqualified from by that accident. As Anderson now gets by Flavor, and is trying to close up on Jacob farther up. Flavor holds steady in the 12th position for the moment. Farther up the grid, Raptor is putting pressure on 19. Zola is coming to the pits to repair damage. 19 with a time penalty now. And those worn softs are really hurting him right now. It's working well for Raptor. Anderson trying to make a move on Jacob. Here he comes to the inside. And he will overtake him. So Anderson now up in 10th. The fresh medium tires doing much good for him right now. As Pelly gets by Constant Jet farther up the road. And now Anderson is going to set his sights on Constant Jet. Your pole sitter is now plummeted to 9th. And while the race seems to be slowly coming back to Raptor for Constant Jet, it seems to be going away for him. Constant Jet, damaged front wing. He has damaged his car somewhere around here. I'm guessing while he was fighting with Pelly. And this means that Constant Jet is now out of the points paying position. He needs to be very careful making it into the pit road. He's got to let Flavor by carefully. Flavor will go ahead and scoot by without issue. But for Constant Jet, he goes from bad to worse as he is now out of the points paying positions completely. Farther up the grid, Raptor, 19, neck and neck. Raptor around the outside of the Williams. And he'll take it. DRS striking range of each other. 19 way off circuit there. Those soft tires have completely died on the Williams, and now he's going to find himself under pressure from Young Maneuver and Ryan Hurricane, who also have very worn soft tires. The next driver behind him is Pelly, who's 5.5 seconds back on mediums. It will be a while before he closes in. Jacob closing in on Mr. Anderson. Jacob has slightly more worn softs compared to Anderson's mediums. So for now, the battle will be in Jacob's favor. The longer that the Haas stays in the draft of the Aston Martin, it will damage and destroy the advantage those soft tires will have. 19 has now lost the position of Young Maneuver. The tires are all but dead for him. I think for 19, his best option is to come into the pits as soon as possible, like now. Lowe now has a time penalty against him as Fiend is beginning to close in. As 19 now will drop through the order. Fiend closing in on Lowe now. Gap's down to about 5/10 now. Both Alpines are in points main positions right now, with Torpedo running 10th and Fiend running 3rd. That's better than the Mercedes or the Ferrari team can say right now. Jacob now gets a time penalty for track violations. He's back there at 9th, trying to run down and overtake Anderson, but Anderson himself is putting pressure on Pelly right now. And Anderson in position, they should be able to make a DRS overtake. A little bit of a defense from Pelly, but not much you can do when someone else is faster and is DRS coming onto the straight. So Anderson moves himself up into 7th, so the decision to come in and put on fresh mediums on the restart has played great dividends for Anderson. He is almost back up to where he was before, and he's almost guaranteed to get back by Young Maneuver and Ryan Hurricane, irregardless, once those two have to pit, and they will have to pit sooner rather than later. Fiend on Lowe, neck and neck for the 2nd position. And will easily go in Fiend's favor. Lowe is in the draft. Will he make a move back under braking? He thinks better of it for the moment. The good news for Raptor is that this brings Lowe into play against him. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4th all fighting for position right now. Edgar is not running away from the field as much as I thought he would, honestly. Especially considering that 2nd, 3rd, 4th have been fighting, he's opened up a slightly more than a 3-second gap on the rest of the field. So with penalty countback, he'd still be the leader right now. But I honestly thought that Edgar would have opened up a larger gap. Now with Fiend by Lowe at this point, and Lowe now having to hold off Raptor, I have to wonder if there's any chance that we'll see Fiend start being able to close on Edgar. Although on that entire back straightaway, Raptor didn't engage with DRS despite being within range of it. That's a very weird scenario. So here's a little battle. 3 very fast drivers, Zola, Ali, and Constantin outside of the points, fighting for positions 15, 16, 17, 20 seconds out from Cabus Jan right now. Constantin taking a really different line through there. It doesn't look like any of them are really closing on each other right now. They're all just kind of stuck in a DRS train around Zola. Zola is good enough through most of these corners that he's able to hold them off without issue. Ollie really closing in, the DRS is there. As Pelly gets by Jacob farther up the grid, the soft tires are starting to fall off once more. Zola trying to recover from an accident he had while fighting Frisbee here. Looks to the inside, but thinks better of it as we turn our focus now to the battle for the top 4 positions, and even farther back, where we have a battle going on right now between the Alfa Romeo and the Haas is still fighting back. Jacob has DRS advantage, so Jacob in a position to fight back. Going down the straight, he looks to what will be the outside, the inside in the braking zone. And he is back by for now. Raptor within DRS range of low. Fiend has gotten by him, but has not been able to pull away from the Ferrari. The DRS works just well enough, and Jan Maneuver is pitting out 6th. And with that, that will promote Mr. Anderson up another position. So Anderson has now regained all the positions he lost under pitting, and BCN is out. And there's your full course caution, as level 6 BCN has crashed out of the race. And for these 3 drivers here, Ollie, Zola, and Constant Jet, this is great for them. If they elected to pit, they would be in a good position. BCN right in front of these drivers on the track. We're going to try and get BCN in here and see what happened that took him out there. It looks like none of those 3 will elect to pit, so now the question is who amongst the leaders will come in and pit under this yellow flag. Jan Maneuver in a great position. He had just made a pit stop, so he will gain likely multiple positions just due to the drivers ahead likely making stops. Ollie, Zola, and Constant Jet, this is great. This brings them back up to the back of the grid. Also, we look real quickly at time penalties. Everyone's just running on 3-second time penalties at the moment, so no one's really going to be in position to get rid. All right, Edgar is coming in, as is Fiend Low. Raptor is going to come in as well. What about Ryan Hurricane? He will definitely want to take off those very worn soft tires. Mr. Anderson is going to stay out, so he will likely inherit this race lead. If the game doesn't beat him for speeding under the safety car, which I don't think it will. And it looks like he's the only one who's going to stay out until you go back to Torpedo. So Torpedo's going to come out in second by the looks of it. Flavor is also going to stay out, so Flavor is going to go even higher up the grid, as will XRL 19 behind, 19 on relatively fresh sauce. Flavor is going to get promoted all the way up into 6th now. Raptor now stuck in the middle of the field. Young Maneuver not pitting. He is going to come up to 11th. Not as many positions gained as he was hoping. Jacob and Pelly elected to pit, but they're already back onto the racetrack. Zola pitted, but he elected to pit later. I have to wonder what the idea was to wait later. Maybe they just thought having one more lap saved on the tires would work out better for them. But they're putting softs on for the McLaren. We're likely not going to go green until about lap 19 simply because of how spread out the field is. But the 2 drivers in the lead, Mr. Anderson and Torpedo, have been mid-pack most of the day, and now they are going to be out in front. But the man in 3rd, Edgar, has soft tires and is going to be way faster than both of them. Fiend has fresh tires, and then 5th is Flavor, who's been out of the points most of the day, but he has slowly made his way up, not through overtakes, but just on starting on the hard tire compounds. It's put him in a great position with every time that the field bunched up. Now, the problem now for Flavor, though, is that every single car behind him is going to be faster, and every single car ahead of him is going to be faster as well. He should have the advantage of DRS, hopefully, to kind of stop the bleeding. But Flavor is going to inevitably plummet through the order. He needs to make sure that as that happens, he doesn't get involved in an accident. Jabez John is in a really frustrating position because despite not pitting, he is only 8th, and everyone ahead of him, with the exception of Flavor, Anderson, and Torpedo, are on worse tires or tires just as bad. And Anderson and Torpedo are so far up the grid, there's not really anything for John to do to capitalize. Zola still 25 seconds out. The field not even close to being properly gathered up. For the Mercedes of Raptor, he was up to 4th. He's now fallen to 6th. Low, way down in 10th now. He is on soft tires. compared to everyone else. Well, not everyone, but the next 3 cars up ahead of him, or on either mediums or slightly worn sauce, so low should be in position to start going up through the grid once more. Zola should catch the back of the field in just a moment here, and we should be going green coming on to lap 19. 20 cars started this race, 16 are still running, and while it says that Collie Boy and Frisbee had disqualifications, that's not really accurate. Collie Boy got hit by a Renault-powered Alpine, as that Alpine had jumped the start. I believe it was Torpedo, but I may have seen that wrong. And then Frisbee had an accident with Zola, and while Frisbee was trying to get away, the game disqualified him for being, I guess, improperly positioned on the racetrack. Really a shame for Frisbee, because Frisbee had been leading laps and was looking like one of the top 5 fastest cars out on the circuit today. But no one seems to have had any answer for Edgar today. He's going to be restarting 3rd, and while Mr. Anderson is going to set the pace for the grid coming to the green flag, the question is going to be, what will Edgar do on fresh softs compared to the worn mediums of the 2 cars ahead? Coming to the green flag this lap. How much is Anderson going to bunch the field up? Anderson gets a great jump against Torpedo, and Edgar did not let the Alpine get too far away. He's already putting pressure on him, coming to the green flag. Torpedo had a better exit, coming onto the main straight, though. Anderson already more than a second away from Torpedo, as Edgar and Fiend are on top of each other. Fiend is Torpedo's teammate. How much of a factor is he going to play in this? Edgar goes right by without issue. Torpedo already trying to fight back by, but Fiend is going to come on the outside faster than his teammate on fresher tires. Torpedo goes from 2nd to 4th in just the first 5 corners alone. Raptor gets by Flavor now. Oh, and contact! And Flavor spins in front of the entire field. Oh, and a hard impact for Ollie. Massive accident. And that will take Ollie out of the race, but we stay green for the moment. Gotta try and get Ollie in here real quickly. Raptor closing in on 19 down the straight. 19 has more worn sauce than Raptor, but the top 4 have already pulled out a gap on these 2. Edgar has already closed the gap down to 7/10 on Mr. Anderson, and Fiend is already starting to lose touch with Edgar as well. Edgar, fastest lap with a 136.578 now. That time will continue to drop. Whatever they put in that AlphaTauri has been absolutely fantastic today. None of the other Honda-powered cars have been on the same level as him. While Stone Shuffle was fighting for a position, he definitely was never fighting for a lead. He was kind of in the upper midfield or lower front of the field, I guess, however you want to look at it, before crashing out when Mr. Anderson ran into him. And now Edgar braining revenge for the AlphaTauri camp. Should be enabled on the following lap, and that will work well for Edgar to overtake Anderson without issue. Fiend within a second of Edgar, so he is within striking distance if Edgar makes a mistake. soft tires for Edgar are looking like they're in a position where they'll give him a large enough gap that even when they start pulling off, Fiend might not be able to capitalize. The big thing that's in Fiend's favor, though, is that Edgar has time penalties while no one else directly around Edgar does have any time penalties at this stage of the race. There's the word, DRS enabled, so when they come into the back straightaway, we will see it kick on. Oh, I'm sorry, Edgar got DRS on the main straight. Okay, never mind. So Edgar easily overtakes Anderson down the main straight. We should see Fiend doing the same to Anderson on the back straightaway. Zola gets by Constant Jet farther back using DRS. Constant Jet did not pit. He's now on some of the most worn tires on the entire grid. Outside of Flavor is on hard. You can kind of deal with the worn tires for a while. For Flavor, though, he needs a yellow flag to get him back up to the back of the grid. Raptor behind 19. Torpedo is losing touch with the top three. And Edgar, another time penalty. So Edgar, pace has not been his issue. His issue is track legalities. And that might end up being what takes this victory away from him. If there is a late race yellow and drivers near the front are able to run without time penalties, Edgar might still lose the race win. 19 making a move on Torpedo with DRS. Torpedo defends the inside, so 19's going to have to go to the outside. Raptor is faster than both of them. Raptor is going to try and overtake two cars in one corner. He's into the wall, and he's harder than the wall, and he's into the wall again. And that should have ripped the entire front wing off of Raptor's car in the process. He was way faster than both of them, but he failed to take into account the difference when it comes to downforce, and now he has no front wing. He makes contact with Young Maneuver now. He is plummeting through the grid like his teammate before him, and it's caused a massive stack up. Now Pelly's going to cut across right in front of him. Pelly gets a penalty for speed in the pit lane while he was trying to avoid Raptor. And Constant Jet, Zola, Jacob, Young Maneuver not going to be happy about that because Raptor's dive for those positions have now compromised them all. James John is now gained by Torpedo, and here comes Low on both of them. He's faster than both of them. He makes a move and makes contact with both of them now. Torpedo backs out of it. He wants no part of these two. Everyone's getting really, really aggressive in the mid part of the race right now. Low now closing on James John at the moment. Constant Jet's out. Constant Jet, the other Mercedes, is now out of the race. And there's your full course safety car. And for Pelly, Raptor, and Flavor, that's exactly what they wanted to see. This brings the entire field together. Constant Jet leaving a shower of debris all on the main straightaway. Not the main straightaway, on the run down to turn 6. As we'll try real quickly now and get Constant Jet into the party and see what happened from his perspective. For Flavor, this will be a great chance for him to get off the hard tires and start putting on something a little bit fast. All right, coming into the party right now is Constant Jet. Jet, go ahead and include your audio. From first starting position to a crash here, taking you out before the race's halfway point. Go ahead and walk us through the entire race, frankly, from your perspective. It's a shame to see you knocked out there. Now, we know that you're more of a reserve rather than a primary, but do you think you could recover from this if you were to show back up in this seat next week with more practice? Alright, well, that aggressiveness got you the pole position at the least, so you can at least head home knowing that under ideal conditions, you had the fastest lap time. Alright, well, I do want to say also, thank you very much for being willing to jump in and talk with us and tell us what happened from your perspective. Alright, so now we begin to turn our focus back onto the racetrack once more. For Lowe, Pelly, Raptor, and Flavor, they are now all on fresh medium tires. Now, those tires will not get them to the end of the race. They likely will have to pit at least one more time for another set of mediums before this race is over. But they will now be a little bit faster than everyone on track ahead of them. Mr. Anderson, by pitting under the first safety car and not pitting under the second, he is still running second. He has no time penalties while everyone around him does. So Anderson positioned himself for a good finish if he can avoid having incidents coming to the green. The big thing for Anderson, though, is that he has the most more tires of everyone in the top four, except depending on how you look at it, maybe 19, XRO 19 in the fourth position is on 10-lap worn softs. Those softs are definitely falling off pace right now. Lowe has come back into the pits again. He was already 11th, and he's pitting again, and that will relegate him back to 14th. I'm not sure what the strategy is on the Ferrari team there. Just behind 19 is going to be James John and XRL Torpedo. They are on more worn mediums. The mediums can take a lot more wear than the softs, obviously, and then you start getting the drivers who pitted either during the second yellow flag or pitted in the interim between yellows, and they will be faster than everyone ahead. But right now, I think without a doubt, it's still going to be XRL Edgar's race, assuming he can outrun time penalties. As it stands right now, he has 6 seconds of time penalties. Everyone behind him has less than that. Good news for Edgar, though, is that he will control the field coming to the green flag, and he can get far enough away from Anderson in the first lap or two alone. He'll be out of DRS range and just cruise until he inevitably has to take off the soft tires. Safety car coming in this lap, so we'll be going green lap 25. Still not yet halfway through the Sashi GP, sponsored by rat poison, apparently, considering how slowly we've been losing people as this entire race goes on. If this keeps up in this race, we'll only have about 9 finishers at the end of this race. It's not like we've had a whole lot of large multi-car incidents or anything. It's been mostly single-car accidents throughout the day. The closest thing we had to a multi-car incident was we saw XRL Flavor have a spin, and then Ollie, in an attempt to avoid, ended up getting way too aggressive on the curbs, running wide, spun around, and took himself out in the process. But other than that, every incident we've seen has been single car. They come to the green flag now. Can Anderson do anything to keep up with Edgar as they come to the green? The answer is yes. He actually doesn't lose too much time to Edgar, but Fiend is already putting pressure on Anderson. Oh, and Raptors had an incident right coming to the green flag. Immediately, the Mercedes rips off its entire front wing. He's going to have to circle the entire track without front wing. Now Raptor, the second fastest person in qualifying, is at the risk of going a lap down. Fiend puts pressure on Anderson, and Edgar is already running away from the Aston Martin. The entire field at the front is nice and spreading out already. But once you get from about 4th on back, everyone's closing in, if anything. Tito's right there behind James John. Ryan Hurricane's not too far behind. Yamaneuver and Jacob are fighting on their own. Zola on soft tires, looking to capitalize before those tires fall off. And then you have Pelly, Lowe, who is on fresh softs, and Flavor, who is already losing pace. Zola, another time penalty, but Fiend putting pressure on Mr. Anderson right now. The gap between first and second over a second wide. Anderson just trying to run defense against Fiend at the moment. These two opened up a gap on the rest of the field. 19 is not able to keep up. James John is being held up by 19 as the soft tires are really in a bad position for that Williams. on Anderson coming onto the main straightaway, but he might be able to do it under braking. Anderson's actually closing in just a bit on Edgar down the straight, so it seems like the Aston Martin's power plant, which is Mercedes, is good enough to keep up with the Hondas on the straight. But here comes the Alpine Affine to the inside, under braking. Will be a nice open and shut move. James John, 19, still fighting for 4th and 5th. They can't figure out who's going to have it. It's going to be 19 for a little bit longer. Torpedo is there in 6th, ready to make a move on the Ferrari if the Ferrari blows this next braking corner. Ooh, 19 with a real bad twitch that gives James John a chance to close back in. And the entire field is like, ooh, Torpedo now has a twitch. He's going to lose touch with these two just a bit. Try and make these softs last as long as they can. He wants the field to spread out more behind him before he pits so he doesn't lose the main position. The problem is, the longer 19 stays out, it just means that this entire field of cars behind him will stay more and more packed up. And when DRS does finally engage, I see no way that 19 is going to be able to defend himself around the circuit. Yes, the Mercedes power plant has been very good on the straights here, but there are too many corners, and with DRS, that power plant is not going to be able to outrun it. DRS has been enabled. We're going to see the Ferrari closing in on the Williams down the straight here. It's a huge run. Here comes the Ferrari neck and neck, and around the outside will go James John. It will be an easy overtake by James John. The Williams, though, is fighting back. He's going to be on the outside going into the braking zone, but it won't matter. He's fast enough. They're still side by side. Under braking. Who's going to hold the position? The Ferrari clambers over the curves and actually loses the spot now. Zola gets by Jacob as Jacob ran too wide back there, so Zola is now finally back into the points-paying positions now. But Haas trying to fight back. Torpedo's going to have good DRS on James John and 19 going down the back straightaway here. James immediately making a move on 19. What will 19 do to defend? 19 holds the inside. James going to come around the outside corner. He'll just out-drag the Williams before they even get to the braking zone. Easy overtake for the Ferrari. As Lowe gets by Yamaneuver further back, the fresh tire is paying him good dividends right now. Pelly now against Jacob. It looks like for now the position is going to go to Jacob. Well, no, never mind. Pelly held in there and is actually going to end up pushing the Haas wide. So Pelly now picks up 11th position. So 19 now has DRS on James John, but is using that more as a defense against Torpedo behind him. The Ferrari of John is going to be faster in the corners than anything that 19 can do. The real question is going to be, what can Torpedo do against 19? Because Torpedo has very worn tires. Ooh, 19 really wide there. It's going to really compromise his run down to this corner, but Torpedo's not close enough to capitalize. The top three, Edgar, Fiend, and Anderson, are in a zip code of their own right now. James John trying to open a gap. Raptors just set the fastest lap of the day, but he's half a lap down compared to the rest of the field, so it kind of doesn't matter right now. Just barely within DRS range of the Ferrari ahead, but even with the DRS, he's not able to keep up with the Ferrari well enough. He's likely going to lose touch with James John shortly. And this is muddy. Here's Torpedo already making a move on 19. Hurricane's there ready to capitalize. Torpedo has to back out. Now Hurricane's alongside. Now Lowe's going to get by. Torpedo falls back to 8. Going to try and stick it on the outside to get by the Ferrari. He's going to pinch the Ferrari wide. Lowe not happy with that. These two are estimated to be two of our main championship rivals. Already fighting for position aggressively here just past the midway point of the race as 19 finally is going to pit. That will drop 19 out doesn't have to worry about Ryan Hurricane for a while. Lowe, already going around the outside of Ryan Hurricane, will overtake him without issue. The fresh, soft tires paying him great dividends right now. Is falling all the way back to 13th after pitting, however, and that's also dropped 17 seconds out from 12th alone. So 19 tries to stick it off with those soft tires as long as it could, but it looks more and more like it was just a bad choice, a bad strategy decision by that team. As Torpedo is now putting pressure on Ryan Hurricane, and Hurricane holding just close enough to Lowe to use DRS as a defense. So a DRS train from 5th back to the 9th spot. And Lowe in a position to capitalize and gain a bunch of positions. He's now up back into the 5th position. Question is, though, is how long is Lowe going to stay behind his teammate Jabus John? Ferrari significantly faster with the soft tires, but not fast enough to get within DRS range of his teammate yet. And that means that Ryan Hurricane can still try and make moves on him if Lowe makes a mistake in braking. Zola has now caught this battle, so from 4th to 9th is basically a glorified DRS train, as Lowe is now within a second of his teammate. Top 3 still out on their own right now, but Edgar and Mr. Anderson will both have to pit sooner rather than later, so the lead will eventually go back to XRL Fiend. Alright, coming onto the back straightaway shortly, we'll get an idea on if anyone in this train can really do anything to the drivers ahead. Zola is on soft tires, but those softs have fallen off significantly. They're past their due date at this point, I'd say. Focus is what can Lowe do to Jabus. He's got DRS, got ERS. He's closed down to half a second, a fourth, a third, a quarter of a second, a fifth of a second. Not close enough to do anything yet, though. He should be able to get him on the main straightaway next time around. But Jabus is slow enough that's going to force Lowe to back out a bit, and that brings Ryan Hurricane Torpedo back into play. This time we're anticipating Lowe to overtake Jabus down on the straight. Lowe coming around the outside. Easy overtake with DRS assist. Nothing that can be done to fight back. Ryan Hurricane too far out. He no longer has DRS on the Ferraris. So now he's just trying to hold off against Torpedo. Jacob, now with a time penalty against him. His flavor is actually starting to close back in on Jacob. It seems like his tires might be falling off a bit. Penalty is closed back within DRS range of Zola. So now 6th to 10th is the DRS train. Ryan is actually closing just close enough to Jabus that he got DRS off of the Ferrari. So he'll be able to use that as a defense against Torpedo for a little bit longer. And Jabus also is closing back in on Lowe now. So I said 6th to 10th, it's more like 4th to 10th now. Ryan's not close enough to do anything to Jabus. He needs to stay within a second, otherwise he's going to be open to DRS overtake on the main straight by the Alpine of Torpedo. Laps to go. 21, actually. 21 laps to go. As it stands right now, if Edgar or Anderson were to elect to come in and pit now, they could throw on medium tires and go to the end of the race. The mediums wouldn't be exactly happy, but they could do that. It's a very viable strategy at this point in the running. Hurricane has completely lost touch with the Ferraris up ahead, so it's just going to be him versus Torpedo. Jabez trying to fight back, or at least stay within striking distance or DRS range of low to extend the life of his medium tires as long as possible. And here's something else to watch. Fiend, for the first time today, somebody is catching Edgar on track. Edgar has time penalties against him that's hurting significantly. And now his very worn softs are working against him as well. And Jacob has had an accident on the racetrack. And the entire front wing has been ripped off of his car. He's already 40% away around the circuit, so he's going to end up probably falling to 14th in the process, sadly. Torpedo within striking distance of Ryan Hurricane, but I'm more interested in the battle for the lead. Fiend is now hanging out within a second of Edgar. We might see the first driver overtake Edgar for position on track. This entire day, Edgar's been unassailable, but it looks like the combination of worn tires and DRS might not make that the case for much longer. Mr. Anderson is 4.5 seconds out from this battle. He's not in a position to do anything in this fight either. For Fiend, this is looking great because he can stay on these medium tires as long as he wants, stay out on them, hope that there's not a yellow flag, or even if there is, he could elect to pit under a yellow flag and cycle back near the front with very fresh rubber and go right back to the front. For Fiend, everything might be falling his way because Edgar's tires are starting to fall off. Fiend within half a second right now. A little bit farther back, Torpedo within 2/3 of a second of Hurricane, but still not close enough to do anything. If anything, Torpedo now has to start worrying about young maneuver behind. Fiend now within 1/3 of a second of Edgar. Can't overtake here though. Does Edgar elect to pit this lap so as to not keep hemorrhaging time? Because for Edgar and Fiend, the longer these two fight, the more and more likely it will bring Mr. Anderson into play. While they were 4.5 seconds ahead of Anderson, now the gap is close to 4.2 seconds between Anderson and Fiend. If these two continue to fight, Anderson will continue to close, despite having very worn tires. Fiend not close enough down the straights to really make any advantage, so the Honda power plant that Edgar has seems to be good enough. Well, the Honda power plant balanced with the downforce setup of the car is enough to keep the Alpine behind on the straights. Anderson's had an issue. He's now fallen to 5 seconds out. And that means he's going to be under threat from the Ferraris very shortly here. Young maneuver gets by Torpedo as Torpedo ran wide there, coming to turn 6. This means for Zola, although Zola's tires are past their worth date, he's going to try and maybe do something to Torpedo, whose tires are also past their worth date. Torpedo runs wide. Here comes Zola. Round the outside. He gets it. And now it's Pelly's turn. It's going to be a DRS drag race down the straight, but it looks like Pelly's got him. Oh, Edgar with a big twitch right in front of Fiend. Fiend cannot seem to get by Edgar for anything. Another lap for Edgar on these very worn soft tires. Fiend's still looking significantly faster than the Honda, but can't do anything. Coming onto the main straight. Roughly 1/3 of a second between them. Fiend closing in rapidly, but is he going to be close enough to make him dive bomb? Under braking, he looks to the inside, he makes the move, can't make it stick. But the Honda slides sideways, putting the power down, coming out of turn 2. Torpedo is elected to come into the pits. He thinks those tires are too dead. I think the same thing's going to be true for Mr. Anderson shortly here. He's going to have to pit. Davis John will likely have to pit sooner rather than later as well. Edgar, another time penalty, and that's just going to continue to harm him. Now has 12 seconds worth of time penalties, while Fiend only has 3, and Mr. Anderson has none. If this race was to finish the way it is now, Fiend would win, and Anderson would come home second, and Edgar would get relegated well down the order. Edgar, without a doubt, has been the fastest driver on track all day, but it looks like this race win is going to fall away from him just due to his inability to keep the car on the racetrack. Edgar, will he come in? No, he stays out another lap. Lowe now pitting. The soft tires are too far gone for the Ferrari, so now it's Davis John who's the only Ferrari near the front. He will likely come in and throw on a set of mediums in the next few laps, though. Lowe has elected to throw on mediums, and those mediums should last him to the end, with about 18 laps to go in the race. Flavor now gets brought back into the points-paying positions, although Lowe will likely run Flavor down and overtake him for that position sooner rather than later. But Lowe will have to contend with 19 for a little bit, because 19 is already up to speed and closing in fast with hot tires. I think Lowe's far enough ahead of the Williams that won't be too much of an issue, though. But near the front, at the front once again, Fiend continues to put pressure on Edgar. A little bit of a twitch, but he's got DRS going down the back straightaway. Within a quarter of a second, within a fifth of a second, within almost a tenth. He's within a tenth, but can't get alongside. Makes contact with the front nose to the rear tire of Edgar. Anderson is holding steady at about 5 seconds out from this battle, but Davis John is now putting pressure on Anderson. But both Anderson and John are on very worn tires. The longer this goes on, the better and better this goes for Fiend, but Fiend really is going to want to get by Edgar, so that way he can open up a gap. Top 4 all staying out another lap here. We're anticipating Zola will also be coming. Oh, a massive accident by Pelly! He was coming into the pit lane and has a big accident, and that will be the full course safety car. Pelly not able to make it into the pit lane by the looks of it, has a massive accident. This will work out well for 19. And for Torpedo, Jacob, and Raptor, this is perfect for Edgar. This is great because now he can throw on a set of soft tires and easily or medium tires and easily make it to the end. The problem is, though, for Edgar, he has 12 seconds of time penalties he'll have to outrun. We are now down to just 13 cars left in the race. For Raptor, he had just recently got on medium tires that will take him to the end, so this will give him a chance to catch up to the back of the grid and maybe make a shot for points. 19 now on fresh softs, and Torpedo also now on fresh softs as well. But the question is, will those softs last safely to the end of this race? We are anticipating that everyone in the top 8 are likely going to pit. Maybe not Flavor, but everyone in the top 7 are almost guaranteed to pit. And it will be their final stop of the day. No one here has time penalties that they can serve in pit lane. Edgar coming in, Fiend coming in, Anderson, he's coming in, Jabe's gone, coming in, Ryan Hurricane is going to come in as well. Young Maneuver comes in, Zola comes in. Will Flavor come in or will he stay out? Although he's far enough back, it may not matter. Flavor is going to elect to stay out. He seems to believe that he can make these mediums last to the end of the race. Now what this means, though, is that Flavor might be able to go up the grid a little bit. Oh, not just a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to want witness history here. XRL Flavor is going to, although will be under the safety car, XRL Flavor is going to lead his first laps in his XRL career here at Sochi, as he is now first. Lowe, interestingly enough, elected to put on mediums. No, those are the mediums he put on when he pitted, never mind. So Lowe has now been filtered back up into 5th in the process. So everyone is on relatively fresh tires, except for Flavor. But I think Flavor will take that. Flavor finally leading laps for this first time in his XRL career. Now the challenge for him is going to be keeping the car on the track, not having a spin or an instant. Everyone behind him is going to be significantly faster. He's going to want to do everything he can to make sure that he doesn't get involved in someone else's instant, doesn't spin, so he can maintain a potential top 10 finishing position. But right now, it's Edgar, Fiend, and Anderson fighting for this race win. Edgar is going to have to outrun 12 seconds worth of penalties. Fiend has 3 seconds worth of penalty. Anderson has none. But if Anderson can't keep up with Fiend, or he starts getting overtaken by drivers behind him, it's going to work out against him in the end. 19 still has yet to catch up to the back of the grid, so I don't think we're going to go green until about lap 40 or so. For Raptor, if I was in his position with everyone ahead putting for softs, I think Raptor should go ahead and throw on soft tire compounds now, because he's never going to get another chance to put on softs in a way that's not going to harm him. He should, if I was in a position at least, he should come on and throw on soft tire compounds. Now the softs will be hurting a bit near the end. They'll be about 16 laps old by race in, but everyone ahead is on softs. They'll at least be able to keep up with the drivers ahead. Nope, he's going to stay out. The entire field almost totally gathered up here. We should be going green on lap 40, so we'll be green with 14 laps to go. Edgar, the fastest man all day, is going to have to outrun 12 seconds worth of penalty. And Raptors also has the fastest lap thus far, but they only give points for fastest lap in the top 10. Right now, it's looking like that goes to Lowe, but that will change likely because almost everyone in the top 10 are on relatively fresh tires now. Lowe on mediums, so the advantage for Lowe, and to a lesser extent that Raptor have, is that near the very end, the last few laps of the race, they will be as fast, if not faster, than everyone around them. But for the first 7-8 laps from the restart, all those soft tires are going to be blowing Lowe and Raptor out of the water. It will be hard for Raptor to properly keep pace with the back of the field. Flavor in control of the race start. What will he do? How will he back up the field coming to the green? Edgar, Fiend, and Anderson all fighting for the win. Flavor is just going to try and be on the best defense he can. Edgar needs to get by Flavor as fast as possible and absolutely outrun everybody else. He cannot afford another safety car. If another safety car happens, Edgar's chance at a victory is over. Safety car coming in this lap. Edgar needs to get 9 seconds away from Fiend, 12 seconds away from Anderson at the least. How does Flavor back up the grid? Flavor's keeping up close with the safety car. And that's it. We're green. We're underway. Edgar and Flavor opened up a gap on Fiend, but Flavor's already held up Edgar a bit. Fiend's got to run. But Edgar has a stronger run against Flavor. What does he do against the Red Bull? He's got to run. He looks to the inside. Neck and neck as they go down into the braking zone of turn 2. Edgar easily takes it. Now Flavor falls right down to third. Fiend's gonna get by without issue. Mr. Anderson's gonna look around the outside to try and get by Flavor. Not close enough to make it stick. But now Anderson is faster on this straight. He will out-drag him into the following corner by virtue of having the soft tires. Flavor falls to fourth, and the top three now begin to battle once more. Fiend putting pressure on Edgar once again. Anderson just needs to stay within 3 seconds of Fiend and within 12 seconds of Edgar to win this race. Fiend needs to just be within 9 seconds of Edgar to win. For Flavor, he's now fourth. But Lowe and Davison are the drivers behind him. They're both faster. Right now, Flavor is basically acting like a rolling chicane at the moment. And that's working out well for the top three. They have now opened up a 1.3 second gap on fourth. Fiend, fastest lap of the day, 135.090. Now Lowe's coming down with a better run down the straight than Flavor can do anything with. Javison is the next driver. What will he do against Flavor? The answer, an easy move to the inside. And under braking, he'll hold them off. So Flavor now falls to sixth. Zola back there following Ryan Hurricane. These two are going to be the next ones that Flavor will have to deal with here. As Raptor finally overtakes Jacob back there for 12th. Javison time penalty. That's one advantage that Flavor has. He can afford to lose all these positions because he still has no penalties. So on penalty countback, he will go back up the order a little bit, assuming nothing happens. Zola right there behind Ryan Hurricane, putting tremendous pressure down the straight. But with no DRS, Zola's going to have to go for a hard dive if he wants to make the move. He thinks better of it. He backs out for the moment. But now Flavor has been caught by these two. Zola, time penalty. It's not going to work out well for him. Hurricane does not have a time penalty while Zola does. Both of them are being held up by the Red Bull right now. Edgar is now set the fastest lap with a 134.867, but Fiend is still within striking distance. DRS has been enabled. Javison fighting on the outside of his Ferrari teammate for position. And John goes up into fourth. Here comes Ryan Hurricane to the inside of Flavor. Nothing that Flavor's going to try and do to fight back. He'll let him by. Here comes Zola, young maneuver, 19, and Torpedo. How aggressive is Zola going to be to get by Flavor now? Oh, and Jacobs had an accident in the back of the field. And there's a full course safety car. And once again, neither Haas will finish the race. We'll go back under a full course safety car once more, and this works out in Mr. Anderson's favor because it will be easier for him to keep up. Also, for Flavor, this is good for him because if he so chooses, he can elect to come in and get rid of those worn medium tires, throw on some softs. Now, although that would drop him out of the points paying positions, he was already well on the way of being pushed out of the points anyway. So, also for Raptor, if he elected to come in and throw on soft tires under this safety car, he would be the fastest person on track and might be able to get himself back into points paying positions. Does anyone pit under the yellow? Flavor will indeed pit under the safety car. But he will be the only one to do so. So Flavor now filters back out of the points paying positions. but he will likely get some of that back on penalty, may get some of that back on penalty count back. Anyways, we're going to take a very brief break here in the broadcasting booth. The broadcast will continue going, but I'm just going to step away and take care of something real quickly. I should be back in about 45 seconds. So right now, the entire field is almost fully gathered up, so I anticipate we should be going green lap 44 here. I mean, we'll be going green with basically about 10 laps to go, so as we look at penalties right now, Jabez John 6 seconds, Edgar 12, Zola 9, 19, and Raptor both have 6 also. Mr. Anderson played himself in position to win this race on penalty countback if he can stay within 3 seconds of Fiend. Because as it stands right now, I see no way that Edgar is going to open up a 12-second gap on Anderson and a 9-second gap on Fiend going to the end. Right now, Edgar just needs to go as fast as he can to negate the time penalties as much as possible. And I was wrong. Apparently, we're going to go another lap under yellow. Cool. So we'll be going green lap 45 with 8 laps to go. Raptor is finally elected to come into the pit, so he waited until the last lap where it wouldn't actually hurt him. And he is likely going to throw on soft tires. And by doing so, he will give himself a fighting chance to get back into the points-paying positions. He, along with Flavor, will be on the freshest tires on the entire field. Lowe now is the only car on track on medium tires. Lowe does have the advantage, like we said earlier, that the softs will be falling off in the last 3-4 laps of this race. Lowe will not have to worry about that, and now neither will Raptor because his sauce will go hard to the end. Same with Flavor. Flavor's sauce will go full bore to the end without issue. If something happens to Anderson and Lowe gains enough positions, Lowe could still put himself into the fray for this race win. Right now, I think realistically the fight is just if Anderson can keep pace with Fiend by the end of the race. If Anderson is within 3 seconds of Fiend by race end, or Fiend earns any more time penalties, I think Anderson can win this race. There's the word, safety car officially coming in this lap. Alright, so Edgar once more controls the field coming to the green flag. How much will he back them up? Really, he's backing them up a lot right now. Fiend, is he gonna fall for it? Edgar's backed up enough that he's forced Fiend to get alongside him. Edgar very aggressive with the backing here. We may see an issue coming to the green flag from someone near the back. The entire field nearly comes to a dead stop coming to the green flag. And Ryan Hurricane has had an incident with Lowe coming to the green flag. And that's exactly the kind of thing. And that gives Ryan Hurricane a time penalty now. So Ryan Hurricane no longer is free of time penalties. But Fiend has a run that he's making on Edgar. Looks to the inside, can't do it. Also, Anderson has completely lost track of Fiend as well. Ryan Hurricane, Zola, He claims to make it in 3 wide, but backs out. But by backing out, he brings 19 into the fray and Torpedo. Ooh, Zola really wide, but 19 gets around the maneuver. Now he dives to the inside of Ryan Hurricane, his teammate Williams, side by side for the 7th position. Maneuver, trying to do something to fight back against Ryan Hurricane. Torpedo, Flavor, and Raptor all there as well, ready to capitalize. No DRS yet. Ooh, Raptor with a massive dive, and he has to back out of it against Flavor. It's not going to work out in his favor. Edgar, fastest lap with a 134.804, but despite that, Fiend is holding tight to him. Anderson has not yet lost touch with Fiend. In fact, Anderson's actually closed in on Fiend just a little bit. Javis John has fallen off the back of the Aston Martin. Anderson needs to stay within 3 seconds of Fiend to win this race. Fiend losing touch with Edgar right now. As long as Anderson is within DRS range of Fiend, and Fiend can't get DRS on Edgar, that will work wonderfully for Anderson. Maneuver steps way wide, a little bit up there, trying to get by Ryan Hurricane. Everyone's on soft tires, everyone's abusing the crap out of them right now, and it's not working in anyone's favor, basically. Hurricane trying to close in on 19. Not close enough to make a move, though, at the end of the back straightaway. Anderson now within half a second of Fiend, and Fiend is out of DRS range of Edgar again. This is exactly what Anderson wants to see. He'll be able to use DRS to stay in touch with Fiend, or if he so chooses, he could try and maybe make a move on the Alpine. DRS in Anderson's favor lets him come in to within 3/10 of Fiend. Not close enough to make a move, though. Hurricane by his teammate 19 in the braking zone of turn 2. Young maneuver steps really wide, and that's Torpedo who's going to try and capitalize. See Torpedo there giving Young Maneuver hell. Ooh, but now Torpedo has a twitch there. And 19 has a run on Hurricane, but Maneuver is even faster than 19. And the Aston Martin will take the position over XRL 19. They'll run side by side to a following corner, and 19 goes around and destroys the front wing of the car, and that will take him out of the points paying position. Flavor goes into the points. Raptor goes up to 11th now. For the win. James John has caught Mr. Anderson, and Anderson is still right there behind Fiend. To the inside goes Anderson. This will be for the race win after penalty count back is taken into consideration. Anderson outbreaks Fiend. He'll get the 2nd position. Now James John goes by Fiend. Fiend had an absolutely horrible time braking. He goes from 2nd, now falls to 4th. On time penalties, James John has 6 seconds worth. has 11 seconds now. So Mr. Anderson is in a great position to walk off with this victory. Young Maneuver and Flavor also in a really good position when it comes to penalty count back as well for the moment. 19 in the pits to repair the damage. Aggravation for him, as this is likely taking him out of the race for good. Davis John trying to put pressure on Anderson. If something does happen to Anderson, an accident, a spin, or multiple time penalties, then the race win would go back to this man here, Davis John, or Extra Fiend. Further back, Raptor has gotten by Flavor, and is now putting pressure on Torpedo and Young Maneuver. So Raptor, despite having relatively fresh, soft tires, is not able to move up through the grid at all. The aerodynamics of the Mercedes just are no good in the pack, and now he gets another time penalty, runs wide in the process. He is within DRS range of Torpedo and can close on the straight, but Torpedo is also within DRS range of Young Maneuver and can use that as a defense. James John has just gotten by Mr. Anderson. So now the Ferrari is up into second. Oh, and Torpedo's around! And the man has now fallen to 11th, out of the points. But Mr. Anderson now needs to stay within 6 seconds of Davis John, or else he runs the risk of losing this race. Anderson using DRS to close in on Davis on the straight. Not close enough to really do anything, though. At the way it stands right now, with the way it's going, Edgar is going to get knocked all the way back to 9th or even 10th position based on the amount of time penalties he has received. Anderson sadly losing track with Davis gone, but he doesn't have to worry too much. With 4 laps to go, if he can stay within 6 seconds of Davis John, he will have the win. Raptor has just set the fastest lap with a 1:34.800. Raptor has actually worked his way up into 8th position now. He's got DRS on Ryan Hurricane ahead. He looks to the inside. The soft tires are doing him good now. Up to 8th, but he has to outrun Young Maneuver and Flavor. Those 2 cars behind him have no time penalties. While Raptor has several seconds worth. Now beginning to put pressure on Mr. Anderson once more. As Raptor, he waited until everyone else's tires were falling off, and now he is finally making his moves up through the grid. He has DRS on Ryan Hurricane ahead now. Looks to be the outside, but will overtake him before they get into braking. So Raptor now up to 7th. Next on his list will be Zola, and then Lowe. Anderson staying within DRS range of Davis John. John needs to be 6 seconds ahead of Anderson if he wants to win this race, but he's not even a full second ahead yet. Interestingly enough, Davis and Anderson are slowly closing in on Edgar. Use DRS to close back in on Raptor, but not really anything can be done. Anderson is putting pressure on Davis John. He'd like to get back ahead of the Ferrari if at all possible. The Ferrari seems to be really slidey right now. Fiend is hanging out in 4th position. Fiend is trying to put himself in a spot where he will overtake Davis John on penalty count back and get 2nd position. just about a second out from Edgar. So it seems like Edgar is falling off significantly here in these final laps. Anderson is still putting pressure on the Ferrari. If the Ferrari can catch Edgar and get by him, John, I don't think he has a chance to open up 6 seconds worth of gap right now, because there are going to be 2 laps to go coming to the line. All Anderson has to do is just not wreck and not lose any positions here with these last 2 laps, and he's going to walk out here with a victory. Farther back, Raptor on Zola. He's got by Ryan Hurricane. He's trying to get by Zola now. We'll have DRS down the straight. His tires are way fresher than Zola, so he can be way harder on the brakes. Zola runs wide. Raptor takes the inside line, easily goes by him for 6th. He's 2 seconds out from low, though, so it's unlikely he's going to move up any more positions. John now within a second of Edgar. And Flavor ends up with a time penalty in the last 2 laps, and that's going to harm his ability to earn extra points. That means Flavor is likely going to be relegated only to a 9th or a 10th finishing position. But still, it will be his first points of the season, and earlier today it was the first laps led in his extra career, so good job on Flavor's part being able to pull that off. Jay Bishan using DRS assist, now within... Oh, Jesus Christ! Now within lunging distance of Edgar. Coming in the white flag. While this won't be for the win of the race, this definitely has some bragging points, being able to be the first person across the line. John making the moves on Edgar, but he's only going to have 2 real overtaking opportunities left if he wants to overtake the AlphaTauri by the end of this race. He's going to overtake him anyways on penalty countback. But he wants to be the first car to cross the start-finish line as well. Zola now gets another time penalty. This will be John's last attempt at making the overtake on Edgar. He's more than half a second out. While he's starting to close, I don't think he's going to be close enough to make an overtake unless he wants to make a big lunge. He thinks better of it, although he is better under braking. So this means Edgar will be the first driver across the line, but he's not going to win this race. Anderson has only fallen 1.1 seconds behind Jabez John. I'm sorry, 1.1 seconds behind Jabez John, and only not even 2 full seconds behind Edgar. So Edgar will cross the line first. John will be the second, but it will be Mr. Anderson who will cross the checkered flag and win at Sochi. It will be Finn who comes home second. It will be James John third. It will be Edgar who comes home fourth. No, Ryan Hurricane, young maneuver fourth. Ryan Hurricane fifth. Edgar sixth. Raptor seventh. Low eighth. Zola ninth. Flavor will come home in ninth. Flavor ninth. Zola 10th. And then Torpedo in 19th. Sadly, will be relegated out of the points in 11th and 12th. And by Mr. Anderson, he pitted under the first safety car, and that strategy worked. Even with very worn tires, he kept pace with the leaders all day today, never put a foot wrong, and in the process ended up winning this race on penalty count back. Outstanding job on his part. Alright, and coming into the party right now is Mr. Anderson. Anderson, go ahead, include your audio. A fantastic win with some excellent strategy and car control elements. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I'm just shocked that I didn't get any time penalties, to be honest. because Russia's like the guaranteed one you're going to get penalties because it's such a tight track. But I don't I don't know. But I'm pleased with the win. Yeah, 100%.
Anderson, you made the decision to come in and pit during the first safety car. That got you off sequence to the leaders, but yet despite that, you, after they pitted, you ended up in the top 3 and hung out with them on pace the entire race today. Was that your strategy to pit as soon as possible to get off sequence, or was that just fortunate?
That was just fortunate, 100%. Like time penalties, I think. Like if Fiend didn't get that 3 seconds time penalty, it would have been really close. But yeah, no time penalties really helped today.
All right, well, I do want to say this also, Anderson. Not only did you come home first, your teammate Young Maneuver also finished the race with no time penalties and came home 4th as well. So for the Manufacturers Championship, this will be a monumental day for the Aston Martin team, and I do want to say great job on you guys for that.
Cheers, yeah, it was a good day. Good race.
All right. If you have anything else to say, you can go ahead.
No, that's all. That's perfect. Thanks for that.
All right. Well, congratulations on your victory, and I want to say I look forward to you maybe repeating this in a week's time or so.
Hope so, but we'll see. I doubt it, but yeah. Cheers for that. That was good.
All right, farewell. All right, as now real quickly, we're going to try and invite 2 other people into the party. I just kind of want to hear 2 other people's opinions on the race, if they're willing to jump in. But even if not, it's been a very interesting race to say the least. All right, coming into the party right now is XRL Flavor. Flavor, go ahead. Make sure your audio is included. Your first points this season in XRRL as you come home 9th, but more impressively, on my perspective, even if it was under the safety car, you finally lead your first laps in your XRL career under the safety car. Congratulations on that. What do you have to say about your race?
Firstly, it's a good job I've stayed behind the safety car. This happened to me on Monday in the DRL. And I was actually leading the race, but I overtook the safety car because I'm so used to overtaking it. So I overtook it. At least today I stayed behind it. It was a good race. Slow start, bit of action going around me, so I started slowly. Kept pace, but I did really well on the hards. Got up to 5th. Got a span. Got back up again. Yeah. And then just kept going at the end. I was surprised I had really good pace at the end. But yeah. I enjoyed tonight's race.
All right, Flavor. I do want to say we know Montreal didn't work out well for you, and neither did Bahrain, but you finally earned points today. Do you think you can get back to your normal form and continue to earn points for the rest of the season?
I'm hoping so. I mean, I've changed the camera angle, and I've really struggled the last few weeks, to be fair. Not enjoyed it. I've stayed in the T-cam tonight. I enjoyed it, but I've been contemplating going back into the cockpit mode, but we will see. But I did enjoy tonight's race, but hopefully, yeah, it does kickstart something. And yeah, maybe I get back to that form I was showing a few weeks ago.
All right, well, one more time, I just want to say congratulations on leading laps, even if they are under a safety car. Hopefully next time I bring you in here, it's from either another podium or being able to lead laps under green on merit. But until then, farewell and have a good time.
Thank you very much, sir. Cheers, thank you.
All right, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get anyone else into the broadcast booth real quickly before we close down the broadcast for today's race. But Sachi, normally a very, very temperamental and dangerous track for not just real-life Formula 1, but XRL especially, ends up providing a very, very good race here today with a very tight finish at the end. And it ended up being Mr. Anderson who ends up taking home the victory today after making the good strategy call, pitting under the first safety car, gain off sequence, and then with ability, maintaining a spot in the top 3 for nearly the entire race on tires that, for most of the day, were older than the people ahead of him, and doing that without invalidating laps and getting time penalties. I just want to say it's an absolutely outstanding job on his part. Well, tomorrow is another off weekend, probably the last one for a while, for the XRL League. Next week, at the same channel, same time, is going to be XRRL on Saturday, and we'll be going to Singapore for the 4th race. Then on the Sunday after that, so not tomorrow Sunday, but Sunday of next week, X1, X2, and X3 will be returning at Sachi. But until then, I've been Saint Lear 13. I'm going to sign off and say thank you very much to everyone who did turn into this race. Farewell.